So wait, get one thing straight. Over this entire time, we were advertised for a Falls Count Anywhere match. I think a Falls Count Anywhere match involving Randy Orton and Matt Hardy because he assaulted him with a steel chair. Yet he came around with a neck brace, preparing to fight, bringing up a steel chair. Randy Orton then attacked him, hit him with a concerto on the steel steps, and that was the segment. The entire time. For all this, for a personal feud involving an elderly jobber and a guy that hasn't been on TV since the post-Royal Rumble Raw. Oh, God. There's already so many plot holes in this. I'm not even going to try to dissect it in this much time. But that was practically it. Just to say, technically, Edge a message. Obviously, they're probably just building up for Mania. Or just Super Showdown, and Edge is going to spear him like the final episode of Raw so they can get a match going. Because all they have on Super Showdown is probably that little gauntlet match that makes no damn sense. Why they continue making random awards and don't push anybody around the company. Like, Braun Strowman won the Greatest Royal Rumble. Nothing happened. There was the Best in the World, but that was only to pursue Best in the World tournament that only pursued one goal in mind, and that was to push Shane McMahon as heel for several months. And nobody got better over all that time, except you saw Miz's best performances, I guess, as a babyface. Promo, otherwise, his wrestling was, And all of this, for an underwhelming storyline, doesn't even have the prime guy fans are willing to see and waste our money so they can come to Monday Night Raw or at least watch it on TV. And you're telling me that I couldn't see Edge for 3 weeks. Week 1. Edge got hit with a chair. There. Brutal. Looked like he had a spasm attack. Week 2. Randy Orton got booed so hard it muted him and he couldn't continue the promo. Week 3. Matt Hardy came in and tried to consult Randy Orton over his actions from the first one. And he got hit in concerto in front of the ring. Then Week 4, he gets concertoed on the, I don't know if, can I call it a modified concerto because he was on the steel steps, but he still did the same move? Oh, God, it was so weak. It felt like such a weak verse to just make Randy Orton an established superstar, heel or babyface. We know how Randy Orton operates. He's going to do the RKO out of nowhere, do some heel heat, say a promo that might be minorly insulting. It's the same thing with this guy. The blend is the only thing that we want is just the memorable feud off this dude in this current generation of wrestling. Because other than that, all we know is he joined the Wyatt family and burned Bray Wyatt's dumbass house with his dumbass, dead, dumbass sister. And Bray Wyatt now changes gimmick to look like a Halloween Havoc McDonald's rapist. And all this time, now he's feuding with Edge. I mean, I'm just losing my patience at this point, because what are you trying to push the entire thing? We have no GM operating this entire thing. And I'm getting upset over this because I thought this would be the best feud of the year and actually get WWE pushing up the ratings, because over this time, I'm getting more excited. Fans are talking more about, like, more optimism over the XFL, more than freaking Monday Night Raw, their prime source of income. There's a problem. Well, technically undefeated streak against undisputed streak. Since January, when the feud with Buddy Murphy ended with a running knee of the barricade, and then 2 black masses, and Eric Rowan been in a squashing jobbers win streak. Somehow they thought it was the best idea, and just a random episode of Raw, they just let them fight. For nothing exactly. Not for a future U.S. title opportunity, not a future opportunity in the gauntlet match or something. Thanks, both of these guys have been in consistent winning streaks and been terrorizing the roster in their own special way. Then they just get a basic one-on-one match that ends up with Aleister Black on top. I think there was a couple of bicycle knees off Aleister Black, failing attempt to use a black hole. Then an escaped, canceled Iron Claw chokeslam into 2 black masses, and he screamed at the last one, I think, when he was on his knees. It was a cool, violent finish, but for Two guys with undefeated streaks that's been remotely unbeatable in the roster. You expect some benefit to come out of this, like for one of them to be in the gauntlet match that's been promoted for the last 2 weeks. And Aleister Black's over the entire couple weeks being like, I want a challenge. Eric Rowan should have been that challenge since he's gone a couple months since being drafted to Raw without losing a match. I think that should be a remote chance for maybe we should push these guys that are winning matches. And he's with this dumbass pet. Aleister Black doesn't even try to show what is really in this thing. And just the suspense, the noir of this entire little gimmick of him carrying around this dumbass pet means nothing. So let's just make Eric Rowan a fucking jobber. Charlotte Flair explains why she chooses Rhea Ripley, probably because, she's won nearly every belt. And she's literally wrestled against most of these women in the main roster anyway. So why not just some random little she-emails from the NXT women's division just to show that there's some difference and we can't make storylines anymore because somehow WWE thinks that's difficult with the collection of writers and history of wrestlers in the business. So somehow they find it that difficult to make a different, story. And it's not that difficult to make a unique story. You could have made a tournament. You could have made like these women had some history or something, or how NXT's been getting more positive reception from the fans on Monday Night Raw, or people have been calling just something, other than just to make like NXT some and Charlotte just remarking that this is like the third brand, so kind of adding some legitimacy to NXT. Other than that, I really don't care about NXT. I don't care about this match. I mean, it'll be nice to see Rhea Ripley up at WrestleMania. NXT gets that exposure because this is technically the first time NXT will ever have a championship defended at Mania. So I guess this is a big deal. Other than that, no one practically cared. No one did. No one did this entire time. I'm serious. What does this have to prove? Why? Oh, Tamina, she doesn't want to face off against another Hall of Famer. She came around beating Trish Stratus. She obviously doesn't want to beat anybody else. So some women that are unproven from NXT, where she came from, that's the best option. I mean, I know coming doing something good for NXT, that's all cool and shit. And thanks you're from the main roster, don't you think that kind of brings a huge chip on your shoulder? I thought this was dumb. It's nice and it sounds cool to some fans, but to me it just sounds dumb. Next up, triple threat match for the 24/7 championship involving Riddick Moss, Mojo Rawley, and R-Truth. That's still involved. Nobody else wants the jobber belt. I'm serious. They don't want to give anybody else the jobber belt except Joe. And why they're pushing Mojo Rawley for their jobber belt? And he gets pinned via roll up. Riddick Moss retains and he just gets a scissor kick. I mean, there was a couple hip tosses. Riddick Moss gets some moves in, but it really didn't count. Nobody really cared. No one popped except the time R-Truth just attacked Mojo Rawley after the match. For somewhat a pop, the match was forgettable at best. Just to know that you have a near 50-year-old man just wrestling these dudes for a belt that has less prestige than the old WWE Light Heavyweight Championship or the WWE $1 million. Well, it has more. Well, the $1 million championship obviously has prestige. It's literally created from a Hall of Famer. Next up, MVP versus Drew McIntyre, and as soon as we started, Paul Heyman came out of nowhere somehow. His entrance, he doesn't have his own entrance music. I mean, give him let the bodies to the floor or something. Like, I'm not going to just listen to Brock Lesnar. I'm just going to be like, oh shit, Brock Lesnar's going to come to fuck him up before his match. And then MVP just comes, changing his gear nearly every other week. He came around with the cool Black Panther gear. Fun, that's nice for the Rumble. Then he changes to a Red Skull something gear when he faces off against Mysterio. And then he comes along wearing his old wrestling gear. What's next? The shit he wore in TNA? What's next? I'm begging. Please. And the match just ended as quick as it started. It started with a couple blows of a boot to the corner. MVP couldn't even get his signature moves on to know that, oh my god, it's MVP. What makes this guy so memorable to the WWE and all this stuff? And he gets jobbed out by the Royal Rumble winner. Now, I understand they're trying to push McIntyre. You could have done it against anybody else. Like, he could have got his own advocates. Like, Rowan, Raleigh, Moss. Just jobbers that could have been, like, easy to feed on or to push. Like, none of this feels like real obstacles. At all. I'm not even going to act comparisons. This just feels like there's no suspense at all when we're in WrestleMania season. And it doesn't feel like WrestleMania season. I hear it from a lot of YouTubers just reviewing this crap, and they don't feel like it's there's no suspense. There's nothing that feels like, oh my god, what's going to be the biggest match? To what we had Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker twice. We had the Triple H against The Undertaker. One in the falls in a street fight, in a no holds barred match. Another one, Hell in a Cell. CM Punk versus The Undertaker. John Cena versus The Rock twice. Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker. And all this crap. What the fuck is really the selling point to watch Mania these days now? We had 16 matches last year, and someone said Mania 35 was underrated. And what cosmos is a show underrated when you sleep through half of it? It's 5 hours of smosh pit matches, and you only remember, oh, Kofi Kingston finally in longevity time he won the world title. What the fuck did he do with it then? It wasn't even an average match. People already knew he was going to win if you looked at WWEshop.com. McIntyre got jobbed out to a dude that hasn't been on TV, but it was for cancer's sake. Kurt Angle lost to a dude that's literally the most unlikable person on TV and most unwatchable. Not just unlikable as a heel. I'm talking about unwatchable as a character. Like, no one cares about Baron Corbin. King Corbin. No Undertaker. It ended... Seth Rollins and Lesnar's match was the opening part of the show for the Royal Rumble winner. And it wasn't even the second last match. It was going to last under 5 minutes. And the lateral 3 minutes was just an outside brawl before they even started the match with a couple German suplexes. And over all this time, people still think they're going to remember WrestleMania 36 when they had 17 matches and none of them felt like they could hit. What was there? Batista coming back. And then he said this was his last match, so that was fucked because we thought we could get a storyline going and finally have something you can watch on Raw. But there wasn't. Six had like 6 months of Rollins calling himself a fighting champion, and Becky Lynch calling himself a fighting champion, and everybody wants to like do collateral damage and notice that there's really nothing else to watch that we introduced 2 belts in 1 year. Did it get anybody TV time? No. Did it sell anything? No. No one cares. That's harsh to say. It's not profitable. And if you have any friends of yourselves, they don't have to be a fan of wrestling, but at least if they heard of it, that means WWE's doing their thing, but nobody have heard of a lot of WWE in a long time. They won't even remember some of the wrestlers. And now you have MVP Edge coming back. And over all this time, they could even have Christian show up on Raw. His own best friend, the guy that he won multiple tag team titles with. He helped him become World Heavyweight Champion back at Extreme Rules 2011. And you're telling me over all this time, Christian was not the first person to show up at all after Randy nearly crippled him. That should be a storyline. That should be a feud worth watching. That should be a match worth watching to put butts on the seats. But no, I have to get half-broken jobber Matt fucking Hardy that already wants to leave, and he'd rather go back to Impact where he's more popular over the past 5 years of this crowd. And I'm blowing my mind. God, I wish this had won. But it ended in a Claymore kick after the Future Shock DDT hit. And just after a match ended that short amount of time to just show MVP had a score to settle and had some history with McIntyre. Oh, God, no one cares. Next, we had Becky Lynch promise that she'll hurt so, yeah, Shayna Baszler. And I guess this is cool, but it showed in the animation that she's still on NXT, and things it's not gonna be in a legit pay-per-view. It's gonna be on Super Showdown. Please just let Becky Lynch lose the belt. Please, I don't care if she's from NXT. Just let her lose the belt, please. Fucking Becky, it's just been bad. She's been holding it the longest, and nobody was willing to watch. Her most relevant match was, I think, she had one of the Bellas, or that was, I think that was, yeah, that wasn't her. She hasn't had a big match since Mania and the triple threat match, and then she came around feuding with Lacey Evans. All I heard was Shayna Baszler cussed, and I was supposed to show that Shayna Baszler, she's an amazing wrestler, amazingly violent, makes the moves feel like she's actually breaking bones, and I think this would be cool. Even though whenever Becky Lynch looks hurt, she looks like a screaming pale child that's incredibly fragile. It's sad. I want to see this match just to see Becky Lynch get hurt. You know it's a bad sign when you want to see your babyface hurt. It's bad. There was a backstage segment involving Lana Lashley, Angel Garza, and Zelina Vega calling themselves the strongest couple and referencing that it's a double date until Zelina Vega getting angry as hell because this is strictly business. This is that we are the strongest individuals trying to technically friend zone Angel Garza. Garza just brings it up that nobody can deny him, and it was just such a corny, crappy. Like I know they're trying to build up, thanks to WWE, like literally just spreading any information they can about relationships. I just know Aleister Black and Zelina Vega are together, so I just feel like he's just getting black masks backstage every day to make sure you never do a reach around on my girl, or else I'll give you a black mask and black hole. And that does not sound like a rape term at all. It doesn't. It doesn't from a man that has, I think, kept a beard since he was like 16. Fun match. We haven't seen Rusev on TV in a minute since before the Royal Rumble. Couple super kicks. There was a lot of slow points into the match. There was a spear to end off the match. I think there was the wing clipper. Humberto just, oh my god, I really didn't get why they had so many replays on this defining moment that he attacked his cousin. If you know this business, we have seen a sister call another sister, I wish you died in the womb. And Vince McMahon saying numerous of times to his children that the worst thing he did to his the worst decision he ever made was marrying his mom and your mother giving birth to Shane McMahon. So I'm just shocked at the point that people still think over all this time. I mean, you can watch it on the network right now. It's $9.99. You know, you can go ahead, watch it. It's $9.99. I can't edit, so just imagine it's a huge red font that says depleting ratings, depleting subscribers. $9.99 right there. You just buy it. Just do it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love they're never gonna reference Chris Benoit, but he's there on the network if you watch because he was on that a lot in 2004, 3, 2, 1, and 0. 2000 actually. Just oh god, this was Maka kick. There was a couple I really didn't care. The the accolade was a the accolade was a that was a quick to the ropes thing by Lashley, and they're still continuing this feud because there's of course conflict on your ex-wife cheating on you with a big black man. That's obviously incredibly relatable to certain people. I'm sorry, Tim. Still, basic one. Garza and Lashley picked up the victory for certain heel heat. Next up was Natalya and Irish Shirai in a great match, if you want to call it that. It ended off with a roundhouse kick off Asuka when the referee was concerned with Kairi Sane. It wasn't as good as Asuka's match with Natalya that she had the previous week. I don't know why they now give her the nickname the Queen of Hearts, even though she has the most underwhelming success in the WWE. Like we had the Hart Dynasty that one time. Yeah, I don't think she won the Divas Championship. Like we had like undisputed tag team champions. Then the first like penny tag team champions. That's an accomplishment. David Hart Smith, he or Davy Boy Smith, if you watch him on MLW, awesome ass wrestler, cool ass wrestler, and you of course know her husband Tyson Kidd. That's Crip for life, and she has barely accomplished much except when I think she won the Raw Women's title and then the Divas Championship once in the completely irrelevant formats and feuds. I think Eve Torres and Beth Phoenix. It did nothing relevant since, except the time with the Riot Squad where they disrespected her father. And I think this was technically a tribute match because he died that year as well. So, yeah, this did nothing. No one cared. It's been since I think December since the Kabuki Warriors defended their tag team titles. Where's the Iconics? Why isn't Fire and Desire the team they're feuding with thanks to their tag team champions? They keep pleading that these are inter-brand belts and they can go wherever they plead, and yet they don't show up to SmackDown Raw or NXT or NXT UK because there's barely much of a women's tag division. Yet again, what's the point of bringing up these belts if you got nothing planned? And you have a 3-hour show. I expect something. We had a sermon by the Monday night. Cool ass jacket, by the way. Messiah, Seth Rollins. I wanted to wear a glove, but I was too lazy. Because otherwise, I heard a bit of controversy over this gimmick, this cultic religious gimmick. I think it was off Bray Wyatt or something. Either way, it's making Monday Night Raw great again. Why? It's just a basic heelish promo because they're still conflicting with Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, and it's been I think 3 weeks that they've been feuding with Viking Raiders. And what was the main event of the show? What was the main event of the show? Well, it ended up with Samoa Joe and the Viking Raiders attacking. I think of no, also Kevin Owens. But what was the main event of the show? The same thing as nearly I think the previous 2 weeks. It was an elimination 6-man tag. And now we have a regular 6-man tag. That means more hot tags. You see why I'm not talking to anybody right now, but nigga, you know how much I hate this show, right? Oh my god. Well, it ended with an attack. Seth Rollins just getting annoyed off Charlie trying to ask the obvious question, just shutting her out. It was incredibly hilarious. Next, we had Rikushi racing off against Carl Anderson. It didn't end in a recoil, and it didn't end in this. It did not end in a 630, and it ended in a different type of move. It ended in a recoil. Tornado. There was a tope suicida. There's all the flippy dippy shit Ricochet's doing. We know he can't promo, and his matches conceding him was just using running shooting star press. We know he's going to just do a couple planches from the outside, barely sell a move and feel like of the match. Like he can make a highlight of the night. He can have a match with Shelton Benjamin. We can't picture him having a long match with Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar has a history of recent years of not having long matches. So, this is going to end as underwhelming as it should. There was no reason for the OC to come out except for AJ Styles coming back from injury after suffering, I think he had a neck injury or a shoulder injury after getting speared by Edge, but in the Royal Rumble match. So, yeah. Next up, 6-man tag main event. Kevin Owens, Viking Raiders against Buddy Murphy, AOP. This is the exact same match. The exact same fucking match. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them, Vince? Why you keep hurting me? Why? Tell me why. Tell me what's the difference? A couple chops. Seth Rollins intervening in a couple moves. It really didn't matter. I think there was a tilt-a-wall backbreaker off Buddy Murphy. AOP, they were doing tremendously. Eric and Ibar were obviously great. It ended, of course, in a DQ finish over Rollins just attacking Kevin Owens immediately after the stunner. It was a great fast pace, near fall after near fall finish. Then the Street Profits come along, assaulting everybody. 2 frog splashes off Owens and Montez Ford. Everybody came running off. Rollins just asking Buddy Murphy to pick off pace, and we end Raw in a DQ finish. But other than that, that's forgivable because it's a weekly show. You do that on pay-per-view, that's kind of fucked. So, yeah. That's Raw. I'm going to give it a complete 5 out of 10. I found nothing barely anything enjoyable. Rollins' sermon was entertaining in certain aspects, that I just liked the jacket. I wanted to put it to a 4, but I feel like not screaming. Ricochet's match with Carl Anderson was mediocre. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I don't know why you guys thought I was being polite. The tag team match was completely worthless. No one wants to see Rusev still feud with Lashley. Becky Lynch's pointless attempts to try to think she's tough goes nowhere. Bringing a household name that people remember from back then, like MVP, and completely get jobbed. The squanderous attempt to make a feud out of Randy Orton and somehow Matt Hardy. But it's like, it's all forgiven if my best friend cheated. Fucked my own girl when I was still with her. And Charlotte's poignant attempt to try to think that NXT is actually going to become a household name when it hits WrestleMania. Like the last time NXT even defended their titles on pay-per-view, it was back in, I think, Roadblock of 2016 when the Revival faced off against Enzo and Kaz. Pre-allegations. So, yeah, it was tough. It's really tough to like this show. It really is tough because this is doing nothing to build up. We don't know when Andrade is coming back. Probably until Super Showdown, or the last week until the last show before Super Showdown. There's no build up. There seems to be no suspense. McIntyre's a babyface. Nobody else is trying to chase the chance to become WWE champion. Ricochet is already just patiently just gonna treat the jobbers. Oh, I mean the OC as jobbers and lose and win consistently. Like, dude, I just don't care at this point. This was a joke of a show. This was a joke of a show. And if you don't think so, comment down below how you felt about the show. I just felt like this had a better way going. It feels like they were just do a match, do a promo of what we think should be good to sell a pay-per-view in 2 weeks, and to sell a big one that we have in 2 months. So just do something to make sure that we feel like we're doing a good job. And now I had an aneurysm after the little rant I had in the start of the video. So that's practically it. Hope you guys liked the review. I'm about to take some Tylenol after. Woo! And that's it. Thank you for watching the DST show.